Isabelle, let's get back into it with the head honcho, Rachel Reeves. This is the winter fuel payment cut story. It's back, set to push 100,000 pensioners into poverty. It's worth reminding ourselves of Rachel Reeves speaking on her decision to cut the payments in the first place.
And I made the choice to means test the winter fuel payment so that it's only targeted at those most in need. I know that not everyone in this hall or in the country will agree with every decision that I make. But I will not duck those decisions. Not for political expediency, not for personal advantage. Faced with that £22 billion black hole that the Conservatives left this year, and with a triple lock ensuring that the state pension will rise by an estimated £1,700 over the course of this Parliament, I judged it the right decision in the circumstances that we inherited.
So she's got farmers coming at her from one side of the Treasury building and pensioners on the other side. Isabelle, 100,000 set to be in poverty. I mean, who'd have thought it?
Well, I think she'll be much more worried, or the wider party will be much more worried about the pensioners. You know, the farmers, I think there is huge public support for them, but in the end, you know, however much you can explain to people that £1 million threshold is not actually that much for a farm, you know, many voters will just hear the word £1 million, won't they?
Of course.
Whereas with winter fuel allowance, you know, we're already having a very cold snap of weather. It's only November. There will be some really awful tales about how this has impacted people who would naturally be Labour voters. I think that when the history books are written about what went terribly wrong with this government very, very quickly, this will be one of the key things. I thought that they would U-turn on this, or at least in some way water it down, and I think they've chosen the wrong battle with this one. A very, very foolish fight to have. And honestly, nobody believes them when they wittering on about this 20 billion black hole, because they can easily find many, many billions to spend elsewhere, can't they? And there would have been ways of making up that alleged shortfall, which were not so punitive on the people who can least carry that burden. Yeah,
and I think I sense absolutely that bearing in mind each year, sadly, there are deaths that are attributed to poverty, and particularly due to heating-based issues and pensioners finding themselves unable to just turn the heating on. This year will be different because each one of those casualties will be firmly laid at the doorstep of Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves.
It will be. I mean, in general, I am in favour of means testing of certain benefits. I'm pretty sure that my parents were entitled to the winter fuel allowance, and they lived in a big house. And, you know, I think they always felt, you know, kind of stunned that they would be given this money. Not that rich at all, you know, they were the last people to have the heating on, but nonetheless, you know, people like them could have shouldered not having that winter fuel allowance. But unfortunately, this has just been so blunt, the way this is done, and there will be older people who suffer seriously. And can you imagine the first tale of an elderly person dying of hypertension because they were afraid to turn the heating? I virtually guarantee it will happen, and that is a heavy thing to have on Rachel Reeves's shoulders. Indeed.
Let's look over the pond to the Democrats. They will still be licking their wounds, of course, thinking, what the heck happened? How did this all go wrong? We need a new leader going forward to make sure that we're ripe and ready for the next election, so that the Trump and Trump-like can disappear forever. Who are they? If you're a Democrat, who are you going to pick, Isabelle, as this job? Is it going to be Sigourney McDougal from Nantucket? Will it be Bob Blueface Flanagan from Coxville, Alabama? Or will it be Kamala Harris? Because apparently Kamala Harris is set to be the favourite to lead the party. And it's just worth reminding everybody of that great speech she gave. God, she was good. It was like Luther King was in the building. That great speech she gave just before she lost back in 2024, of course.
It is okay to feel sad and disappointed, but please know it's going to be okay. On the campaign, I would often say, when we fight, we win. But here's the thing. Sometimes the fight takes a while. That doesn't mean we won't win. That doesn't mean we won't win.
Yeah, but it does mean you didn't win. There it is, Isabel. I don't know why I said back in 2024. It was only like a month ago, wasn't it? There it is. That's the woman that the Democrats think could still do it for them.
I'm not buying into that. This feels like initiative making, doesn't it? I mean, and also it feels to me as if there are a lot of people who are still suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder here. And they're still, you know, they invested so much. They kind of knew in the beginning, it's a bit like a bad relationship. You kind of know you're with the wrong person.
Yeah.
But then once you're in, and you kind of invest a lot into it. And then when it all breaks up, you're still slightly yearning for them. After a while, this feeling does go away. So that would be my message to those Democrats. Don't repeat the same mistakes. They're not really thinking that many of them could be serious about this.
Well, Labour did it with Corbyn, didn't they? So maybe they're taking a leaf out of their fellow sort of lefty playbook, perhaps.
Well, I don't think that ultimately any of that worked out very well, did it? I'm sure there'll be much more exciting characters will come on, and you know, a political vacuum doesn't last long, does it? There'll be all sorts of people ready positioning for 4 years' time.
Bring back Hillary. She'll be about 107 by then. That should do it. Listen, let's move on to this story. We're going to play you this ad in just a second, and I'll describe it for those who are not watching and not seeing us on our channel. This is Jaguar. They've decided, you know, Jaguar, that kind of very slick, sort of quintessentially, once upon a time, quintessentially British car brand. The Jaguar, it was slick, it was sleek, it was fast, it was sexy, it was all of those things. It was full of testosterone, and who didn't want to own one of these beauties? They've decided to kind of change their image, because that's what you do in the 21st century. You change your image and you come up with a new commercial. Let's have a little look at what is happening in this commercial, because if you weren't told, here's a man in a bright red suit with a paintbrush. Here's another model. She's in red as well. She's got a sledgehammer. And here's lots of models all sitting down in nice colours, looking nice and diverse and cosy. Copy nothing, they say, and then the logo for Jaguar comes up. If you didn't see the Jaguar logo, you'd assume it was an ad for H&M, Isabel, but that's how they're selling one of the most iconic car brands these days.
Honestly, I thought it was the United Colours of Benetton.
Yeah, I mean, it's in that ballpark, right?
I'm bewildered. Where's the car bit?
There's no car. There is no car. You don't need to see a car.
Where's the bit where they go round, you know, mountain corners and all of that? You know, I quite like those old-fashioned adverts.
Yeah.
I don't get that. You know, as you said, all looking very inclusive. You kept on saying, yes, there's another woman doing that. None of them look very feminine to me, although I have to say I don't have the best of visuals on the advert, so I may be being a bit unfair there. I'm not feeling this is going to work for them. I mean, maybe I'm going to be wrong about this, but it feels like a case of go woke, go broke.
It feels that way. I mean, what happened to the kind of, you know, chiselled silver fox going round a mountainous Italian countryside very fast and then stopping, and out he gets, and then there's a nice sort of pair of stilettos by the doorway, and in he goes and drops the keys into the pot. What the hell happened?
I don't know, maybe we're just being a bit 80s or even 90s. But I don't really feel anyway that a young generation is their target market. You know, if you're an affluent, I don't know, banker in your late 20s, are you really gonna buy a Jaguar because you've seen United Colours of Benetton advert, or are you, you know, I don't know, going to go for a very, very sexy electric vehicle, if there's such a thing, or I don't know, a Maserati or something, or a Ferrari, something sexy.
Yeah, it's not really a brand that any longer, I sense, people have that, so, you know, the sort of must-have nature of, you know, once you've done well, you can do this, you can do that, and then you buy a Jaguar. I think that is sort of long gone, really. It doesn't seem to be, you know, when I talk to people, I don't think I can remember the last time I heard somebody say, you know, the bullseye for me is the Jag.
Most famous person that had one, wasn't it John Prescott? I mean, he kind of killed the brand in one association.
Well, he had two, didn't he?
Two Jags Prescott.
Yeah.
And I think it feels a bit people in their 60s and 70s living in Surrey. That's what it feels like.
It's exactly that, yeah. Yeah, when I go on my dog walk in good old leafy Sevenoaks, Isabel, I can't say there's a disproportionate amount of Jaguars in driveways, I can tell you that much. And some of the old ones as well, which are quite fun. Listen, Isabel, thank you as ever. Isabel Oakeshott, Talks International editor.